Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to Unlevel Ground. My name is Esther. If you haven't been here before, it's very nice to welcome you here today. So, today, I want to speak about unbelief. Getting right to the point. And I wanted to speak to you about unbelief because I had an epiphany, I don't know, a revelation, an understanding, a moment where I thought, I wasn't aware that this was happening, at least not to this degree. And it was a very freeing moment, a very liberating moment. And who knows, a lot of things happen, we do them unconsciously, not even realizing what it is or what the root is, what is happening underneath, right? And yeah, such a moment took place for me in the area of unbelief, which is really interesting. So I want to share that. Who knows, may free one of you guys. You may be able to relate. And yeah, that's it. So let's just get right into it. So, unbelief. Where do I start? I don't know where to start. Unbelief is not a very comfortable thing to deal with. I'm pretty sure many of us face it every day, every other day, or frequently enough to know what unbelief is. Yeah, unbelief, it manifests in so many different ways, through doubts, through fears, deep fears, more surface level fears. It manifests through worries and lack of trust. It manifests through hopelessness and lack of faith, not wanting to do certain things, not wanting to continue tomorrow, not wanting to see the future, not wanting to dream, not daring to dream, not having the courage to dream. Yeah, so many things. I believe are the manifestation of unbelief. So many things. I just named a couple of them. So, yeah, unbelief, I think, is very familiar to every single one of us. And it's a hard thing to deal with. It's a very uncomfortable thing to deal with, to know you're worrying about how your bills are going to get paid, or you're worrying about tomorrow, as the Bible tells us not to do. But it's not that easy. It really isn't that easy. It's easier said than done. I think you don't pray and worries go away. It's really, you need to build faith. Again, as I said, it's a manifestation of unbelief. That means what now helps you worry less is the fact that you gain faith over time, right? Or that you gain faith at all. So it's worrying is not a comfortable thing. Doubting is not a comfortable thing. When you feel like you can't trust yourself, when you feel like you can't trust your discernment, when you feel double-minded, it's such an uncomfortable thing to experience. James spoke about it, he said it as it was, but it's a very uncomfortable. He recommends for us not to be double-minded, because we can't expect our prayers to as far. I'm not quoting it, but I'm saying he said, don't be double-minded because you can't expect God to answer your prayers if you are like a surging sea, if you change your mind every single day. If you're double-minded, don't expect your prayers to be answered. And I think he said that because God is pleased with faith. Faith is like the currency. It's like the heavenly currency. It's the currency of the Spirit. It's the currency of God. It's how we communicate with Him. It's how we receive from Him. It's even how we offer up our prayers, because we believe that there is a God. We believe that He exists, and we believe that He cares and that He listens. So everything is done through this currency of faith. And now not having faith, having doubt, means that you're not sure. You're like doing it, but you're testing. So not having faith always means that you're testing something. It can mean that you're testing something. You're not sure. You need proof for it. Which means that something has to be proven to you instead you receiving it in faith, right? So anyways, I don't really want to go into the depth of what faith means. I don't think you can really avoid it speaking about unbelief, but still, I want to stay with unbelief. It's a very uncomfortable thing that we all experience. Now, I thought that I did not think I had such an issue with acknowledging my own unbelief. So, beginning of this year, I was faced with a situation in which I did not have the faith to continue in that situation. So something happened. And I was now faced with a new reality, and I had to acknowledge it. And I didn't know if I really wanted to accept it or if I wanted to put an end to it, really stop the process that had begun. And a lot of people, I don't really want to speak about it in detail. Maybe one day I may open up about it, but right now I'm not ready. And yeah, so I really wanted to put a stop to it. A lot of people would know that is not the most Christian thing to do if they knew the details of my context. But that day, what made me realize that I wanted to put a stop to it is because I didn't have any hope for the future. It's because I didn't believe God. I couldn't see myself going through with that process, and I didn't see and trust God bringing me through that process. And that was the thing that really had significance. I sat there and I realized I had to acknowledge to myself, I don't trust God that He will bring me through this. I don't. And in my head, I know He can. I mean, logically speaking, if I know Him as the God that He has introduced Himself to me to be, I introduced Himself to the world to be, introduced Himself through the Bible, right? Then He is that God of miracles, right? Then He is that God that created every single one of us and everything around us and thought of everything. He is like that God. Like, I can't even describe Him. I don't even have the words. I don't even want to try. But I understood intellectually that He was that God, but my heart did not agree with what I knew. My heart disagreed with what I knew because I hadn't yet had that faith planted in my heart that He was that God. At least He was that. I didn't have that faith planted in my heart in that situation for me, that He was that God, that He could be that God for me in that very situation. And that's another thing. Sometimes you struggle with faith, and it's easier to have faith for someone else than it is to have for yourself. That's when you know you really believe Him to do it. You really know that that is a part of God and that He can do that particular thing for you. Well, I didn't. I lacked that belief very much. So I wanted to end that process, that ongoing process. And yeah, it was hard. It was hard. And it was really interestingly hard. Like, honestly, surprisingly hard. Sorry. It was surprisingly hard because I remember one day speaking to someone that is close to me, and I admitted that for the first time loudly. And I just started bawling. And I noticed it was such a hard thing for me to admit. And in the past, I've had issues with like being afraid to disappoint God. But in that moment, it felt more, I didn't feel like I was disappointing God at all. Like, saying it out loud, I felt like, again, I've had this moment so many times. Well, again for me, I've had this moment so many times in my life where I've realized you say something out loud that may seem ugly to you, but it's not surprising to God because He knows your heart. So I've had that moment a couple of times in my life. So in that moment, I knew I wasn't disappointing Him. I knew He knew what I was feeling. I knew He knew the honesty and the truth of the matter and of my heart. It was me saying it out loud, having to acknowledge it to me. But I felt like I broke my own heart. So it was a very painful thing for me. Why? I cannot really explain to you. I honestly don't know exactly, but it really broke my own heart that I had to admit that I knew that God was that God, but I really didn't trust Him. And I really didn't have that belief that He would bring me through that, even though theoretically and based on all the knowledge that I had accumulated so far, I should believe it, right? That should word can be I've learned that the word should can be very dangerous in terms of living a life of faith. Anyways, I came to the point where I had to acknowledge that and I had to admit it, especially because I did not know how to continue. Like, I knew if I did that, and people told me if I did what I was planning to do, I would regret it. But if I they didn't say if I trust God. They just said, please don't do it. Like, God can bring you through it. Like, they had the faith. And I was leaning on their faith, which was really helpful, but I didn't have it myself. And I couldn't see a future, and I couldn't see even the next day, how I would get through the next day. So acknowledging at that moment was very, very freeing and very liberating because it was it was healing. It was healing, and it was grace that was able to be released. So I think of Hebrews 4? At the end of the chapter, when he speaks, approach the throne of grace with boldness so that I may give you grace in times of need. So that I may give you grace and mercy in times of need. And in that moment, I was in need. I couldn't articulate what I was in need for, and it wasn't even important for me yet. Like, he knew what I needed. He knew what I needed. And he gave me the grace to be able to do what I think I couldn't do just because I acknowledged my unbelief. So, to tie this whole thing together, I think the point of my message is that moment I realized that I was a more powerful Christian because I was not afraid of unbelief. I think it's a very powerful thing to not be afraid of unbelief. That means to be able to face it, to acknowledge it, to speak it honestly and openly, as ugly as it may sound, because it testifies of, the distrust in your heart. It doesn't testify of God at the end of the day. Faith testifies of God and unbelief doesn't. So it's an ugly thing when you hear it, especially when you know what you should believe, right? But the reality is we're not always there. A lot of times we aren't there. We're at a point where we don't trust God. We're at a point where we're like, what the heck are you doing? We're questioning him. We think we know it better. We think we have more wisdom. We think we know even what we need. But that moment when I humbled myself and just was honest, truly, truly honest, as ugly as it may have sounded that moment, I was honest with God. And I told him that I don't trust him to bring me through this. I don't think he's capable. I don't believe he's capable. I think he is, but I don't believe he is capable. Because if I were to believe it, then I would have acted accordingly, right? I wouldn't have been that hopeless. I wouldn't have been that sad about the situation, but I was. Yeah. So it was such an empowering thing to realize and see that the consequence of my unbelief, no, not the consequence of my unbelief, let me rephrase. The consequence of me acknowledging my unbelief honestly and openly to God was that he now gave me the grace to face the next day and to face the day after that and to make the right decisions and to mourn and to heal and to continue life and to lean on the faith and to have community and to look for the right people, to speak to the right people, to receive help. He really gave me the grace to do so many things along the way, and he was paving the path just because I acknowledged where I was and what I didn't believe in. I didn't even ask him for belief. Can you imagine? Like, I didn't even ask him for faith. Not that I'm saying it was a wrong move. I'm just saying all I did was acknowledge where I was. And I spoke to him. And I confided in him. I confessed, right? The power of confession, beautiful thing. I confessed and he healed and he did and he planned and he made me realize that he had given me the grace to continue. So it was such a beautiful thing. And he was so gracious at that moment. And it really did not hurt him, I guess. I don't think it disappointed him because he already knew my heart. It just helped me come to a place of, again, as I've said in many of my past videos or a couple of my past videos, me meeting my true self at that moment, which was acknowledging what I believed and what I didn't believe, helped me meet God at that moment, helped me to encounter God at that moment. And then he helped me forward. He gave me the strength to do what I couldn't do by my own strength. And that was really great. It was really, really great. Of course, speaking about all of this, if you know the Bible, you may have thought of a story already, which is, where is it? I think it's in Mark 9. At least, I think it's in Mark 9. It's a story of a guy whose son was sick and the disciples tried to heal him and they couldn't heal him. And then Jesus came and then he was like, oh, you people of little faith, speaking to his disciples. And then he spoke to the guy. I don't know the exact exchange word for word, but I just know that the guy was pleading for the son's life and was pleading for Jesus to heal him. And he said, I believe. And he said something very, very powerful. He said, I believe, but Jesus, help my unbelief. Which can be confusing when you read it at first because you're like, you just said you believe. How can you have unbelief? And that's the thing. That's the complexity about our humanity. And that's a complexity about sanctification. It's a process. You don't go from 0 to 100. You don't go from 0 faith to 100 faith. No, he builds your faith. He completes your faith over time. So you may have more faith this year than you had last year, but you were still dealing with unbelief. And that's completely okay. So he was so honest to say that I believe, Lord, that you can do it, because there was a desperation, there was hope, there was acknowledging that he is the Messiah, based, I guess, on accounts and things that were happening at that time. He believed that he was God, but he still had unbelief. And he acknowledged that so openly and honestly. And people may look at it as a place, may look at that as a point of weakness. Oh, you weak Christian who weren't able to have faith in the Messiah. No, it was actually a very powerful and very strong thing to do, to acknowledge his weakness, to acknowledge the fact that he had belief and unbelief, and that it's mixed and that it's part of our daily life and it's just as it is. So yeah, I realized I want to be a Christian that is not afraid of unbelief. I don't chase it. I don't aim for it. I don't want my unbelief to grow, but I'm a person. I want to become a person, and I want to become more of a person, more of a Christian that is not afraid of unbelief. And I really hope you do too. So that's it. My little message, my little epiphany, my little realization. I love that. I love that for myself at that moment. Let me be honest. I love that for myself. I love that looking back, realizing that. Doesn't mean I don't still deal with unbelief. Doesn't mean I don't still deal with hopeless days or days where I find it hard to trust God. It just means I now know, okay, if I'm feeling it, let me be honest about it. Truly, truly, deeply honest. And then just see where the Lord takes me from there. That's all I have to do. That's all that's in my court. The rest is in God's hands. So yeah, I hope this encouraged you. I hope you may remember this when you need it one day. And that's it. I don't want to add anything to this. Have a great day. Stay blessed. Love you.